contents of Google Drive there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I double click on the interview, so this is the new updated one, which is much smaller. Once you've completed the consultation on your client, so whether you choose to do that on a friend, family member, or even just using yourself, giving yourself a fake name, once you've done that, the information you've then got, you will then go to this document in Google Drive and just answer these questions basically. So there's not too much there. So we know what their barriers and their motivators are from filling out the form on the study portal. So with that information, how are you going to maximize their motivators and how you're going to overcome their barriers? So like I think we did this one with Lynn, didn't we? So with Lynn, it was barriers were hide any alcohol from her put a padlock on the fridge. Stuff I get into it. On the wine fridge anyway.
Doing this has been very sobering.
Well, it's probably a good time because everyone I know has got an alcohol problem at the moment during lockdown, so it's really common. All these Alcoholics Anonymous apps that people can download are probably going to go through the roof, aren't they? Once,
yeah.
But
so
yes.
we finished that. So what I've got to do is actually finish the document on Study Portal. Yeah.
Yep.
And then what happens then to the document? Does it then go into my drive? That's what I'm. Where does that document go? How do you work from that?
What happens is, so on the very front of it, it says enter the gym instructor's name. So I'm going to pull this up as well, so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we go assignments, client interview. So if you've got your husband with you now when you were going through this, it says gym instructor's first name. So this is, you'd put in your name there, Lynn.
Yeah.
And then you'd enter your email. And the reason it asks you that is so that when this document's been finished, it'll automatically email you a PDF of all those questions and all those answers. Okay,
that's why it hasn't worked for me, because I haven't got to the end of it and it hasn't emailed it to me. So.
Oh, somebody filled one out the other day. Actually, I can't remember who it was now, but the email address, there was a typo in the email address. So luckily it went to me, so I got a copy of it. So I just sent it to the person. But did you put your email address in, or?
Yeah, I put my email address in, but I didn't get anything because I didn't get to the end of the form. I sort of part filled it out.
I see. Right, you didn't finish it. Okay, that makes sense.
It's quite hard to pin my husband down. He's not the one I would have chosen. I've got limited choices.
Yeah, you have them, but we've all got limited choices at the moment, haven't we? But yeah, so once you finish all that information, click submit, and then you'll get emailed a copy of that. Then you can go back into Google Drive and go, right, now I've got that information. What strategies are going to be used to overcome those barriers? How can I maximize those motivators? Who else could I signpost them to that's going to help them on their journey? And then what would be some goals to base that on? And the goal setting is going to come from, well, it can be any number of things actually, but quite often it's a weight loss goal. It could be a weight gain goal. It could be a fat loss goal, or or a muscle gain goal, or it could be an activity goal. It could be that they're really sedentary, and we're going to try and work them up to being a lot more active. It could be the alcohol thing. If somebody answers that question and says that they're drinking way too many units, well, ideally we want people to be in the low risk category of consuming 14 units or less. So the long-term goal would be to reduce alcohol consumption from this many units per week to less than 14. But that might be something they've got to do gradually. So that's a long term. And the medium term goal would be like a milestone for that. And then the short term could be just like this week. What are they going to reduce to this week? So this week they're going to do half as many units as they normally do. So that's just breaking that down. I'm just going to quick look at the chat box. So I've got a couple of questions that have popped up. Oh yeah, that was you, Will. That's all right. Easily done. Typos. Okay, so what if my son, he's a goalkeeper, if he wants, let's say, strength training, that would benefit his performance? Obviously, I don't know. Would have to research that. Yeah, so when it comes to sports performance goals, by all means, put them in there. It is trickier. It is more of a sort of strength and conditioning thing. And, you know, generally as a gym instructor, it's a very gym-based kind of goal-setting process you go through, you know, getting people more active, losing weight, really. It doesn't get much more complex than that. If you want to, though, if you're quite sort of passionate about helping your son with his thing, then have a crack at it. But what you would do is you could do some Googling, find out what physiological attributes a goalkeeper should have, and I'm imagining it is going to be things like probably having a good vertical jump, having good lower body leg strength, probably being agile. So you could pick some sort of measurement and goal set from that. It, like I said, it's not really a gym instruction thing. It's kind of, that's quite a skilled, and that's a level 3, level 4 kind of thing to be doing there. But if you want to, you know, by all means have a go. You're not doing anything wrong. Or if you think it's going to be easier for you to get through this assignment, then just pick yourself. As I said, activity goals are the easiest to goal set for, getting people to increase activity levels. Weight loss goals, weight gain goals, they're just really easy to just kind of figure out that process, really. So do what you think's better for you guys. Has anyone got a specific goal that you want me to go through? Like, we can have a little play around with this whole smart goal setting process and figure one out.
I don't know if this is a specific goal or not, but I've recently started, like we were talking about macros yesterday, only in the past week or so, I've started like properly eating all of my food to tailor to my macros, but I still don't know if I'm hitting the right calories. Like, a goal of mine would be to learn how to calculate that properly. Obviously I'm eating the right amount of proteins and carbs and fats, but then is that still enough food? Like, because you might need to eat some fruit on top of that, or I don't know.
Yeah, actually, we do cover this on the level 3, so we will go through that quite a bit of detail of how to work out calorie goals depending on how active someone is, their age, their gender. We will work all that out. And again, as a gym instructor, it's kind of a level of detail you're probably not going to use. It's a personal training thing, really. But I can show you how you could potentially goal set once you've got the number. So, like, if you had somebody's goal was to, for example, I don't know, consume 2,000 calories per day, it will be slightly different to how you goal set for like a physical goal. Because with a nutrition goal, you're not going to break it down and go, the long-term goal is to be able to consume 2,000 calories per day, because that isn't the long-term goal. The long-term, that's probably the immediate goal. And then the long-term goal would be to actually hit a maintenance number of calories.
Well, let's say my goal is I want to reach 110 kg in a bulk. I'm at 90 right now.
Okay, so that would be, if you can see my screen still, to increase body weight from, did you say 90 kg?
90, yeah.
To 110?
89.5, but whatever. To 110, yeah.
110 kg. Now, straight away, we've got to think, well, how is this going to be measured? So we're going to carry out weekly weigh-ins on the scales at the gym every Monday morning. So that's just basically, I've been quite specific with that measurement there, because, and this is for experience, that if you just say to your client, oh, you know, don't forget to weigh yourself each week, they'll be like, okay, and it sometimes happens, sometimes it doesn't. And what you want them to do is do it at the same time of the day, same day of the week, to control everything as best as possible. And actually, the best way to set people up for success is to change their environment to make it very easy to succeed. And if you know that your gym, you go to the gym every Monday morning, and it's got a set of scales right by the door when you walk in, perfect way to kind of systemize that. And I'd even get that person to stick that on their calendar. So if they use like a Google Calendar or, you know, iCalendar or something, put that on there every week so they get that notification that says weigh in Monday morning.
Okay.
So that would go in there. Is it achievable? Well, we can put in here, client has agreed to this goal. Realistic. Well, we haven't put a time frame in here yet. So let's have a look. So increase body weight from 90. So I'm assuming you want this to be muscle. You don't want
obviously some of it will
a
be
20 kilo belly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an exact science especially when it comes to muscle gain. It's trickier than fat loss. Fat loss is easier than muscle gain.
Yeah.
For various reasons, but so that's a 20 kilo gain. Now, some of you you're quite young, aren't you? How old are you, Will?
23.
23, yeah. So you've still got age on your side, so you've got the benefit of probably, you know, pretty good testosterone levels. So what we could, I don't know, what do you guys think? What would be a realistic rate to gain muscle mass?
Isn't it something like 2 pounds a week is average, or like that's optimal?
Actually, that's probably about a month. Actually,
2 pounds a month.
now you're all like, when I say this to you, the people are always going to be thinking, well, that, you know, I follow this guy on Instagram, or I follow this guy here. What we have to consider is everyone's different, but also we just don't know who's clean as well, like who's doing this stuff drug free. So when you look at a video of, I don't know, Chris Hemsworth building a certain amount of muscle to get in shape to play Thor in a movie, well, we don't know whether he did that drug free, do we? And
no, exactly.
So we have to be careful we compare ourselves to, but a kilo a month for someone of your age is certainly doable.
Yeah.
So we could go with that. So we could say, so that's going to be 20 months, isn't it? There's going to be some blips along the way. So you're probably looking at, I mean, that's a potentially a 2-year goal, really.
Yeah.
So we could say 2 years, and then we'd put in the date, which will be the 16th of the 4th, 2021. I mean, that is a lot of weight. I mean, you would look significantly different. Like, people would walk past you in the street and probably wouldn't recognize you. That's how different you are.
Yeah. No, obviously I want to get up to like around that and then cut down from there.
Yeah. So if we put less than 1 kilo muscle gain per month for a 23-year-old is really, or 23-year-old male is realistic. So can you see this process? What you're really trying to do here is show the assessors and the awarding body that you know how to write a SMART goal. So you know how to make things very specific. You know that it's important that things have to be measured to track the progress of them, and you've got to do that in an accurate way in controlling all the variables and everything. You know that these goals have got to be agreed with clients, otherwise they're not going to be committed and they're not going to happen. You know that you have to choose things that are kind of physiologically possible as well. So we're looking at, that's as a rough guide. We know we have to have time frames, otherwise there's no urgency. People just don't get on with it otherwise. So then if I was to set the medium-term goal, guys, just think about that really as a milestone. I think of medium-term goals as milestones. Something to just, so something that where we can almost forget about this and just focus on this one, because it's kind of, if that's going to happen, that's going to happen. So if that's 2 years, we could break that down into 1 year, maybe. That might be quite a nice thing to do, is just switch that up for 100. That's going to stay the same. That's going to stay the same. That's going to stay the same. That's going to just change to 1 year. And then, no, I'm not doing that. That's, I just realized I made a mistake, didn't I? Because that's going to be 22, 2 years. There we go, that's better. So that was easy to do that bit. and then we can just go to the next one, short term. And again, this isn't set in stone. So you'll see different examples. Some might put the long term as a year, 2 years. The long term is all dependent on what is this client actually aiming for long term. So if you are training an athlete, like Ilza, your son, the long term goal might be to play for football professionally. So be a goalkeeper for a professional football team. So the long term goal be figuring out what is it that a goalkeeper has to be able to do to stand a chance of playing professional. Obviously, they need to be very skillful and be able to do that the skills involved with it. But there'll be certain numbers or metrics that you can use as measurements. You know, being able to squat a certain amount and sprint a certain amount or whatever. So that's easy to use them. And then we just break everything down from there. Short term, it is quite nice to focus on that week or that month. With a weight gain goal, when it comes to building mass, because it's small amounts, it's very small increments, it might be worth just focusing on the month for that one. So we could say going from 90 kilos to 91. So in a month, if you go up to 91 kilos, you're kind of happy. You're on target for everything else. We've got that on there. That can stay the same. That can stay the same. That can stay the same. I'll just put 1 kilo muscle gain per month for a 24-year-old is realistic. And then here we're going to put 1 month. We change that to 5 because that's going to be May. And we'll make that 2020. Okay, so does that make sense there, guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
What we've got here. So, sorry, I'm reading some comments there. Isn't a kilo a month 18 months? That for 18 kilos, it would be. Sorry, I just rounded up to 2 years to give Wilf a break on, he's probably going to have some hideous holiday to Marbella in the middle of that, which is going to throw all his goals out the window. I don't know. There's going to be, with progress, it's never linear, and you kind of almost have to preempt some little wobbles along the way. If he does better than that and goes beyond that, fantastic. But we just we want to make it achievable, and everyone's human, and we know that things don't go exactly according to plan. So that's why I just kind of rounded up to the 2 years, really. 0.5 kilo is suggested for fat loss per week, I think. Yeah. When it comes to fat loss, 0.5 kilo is quite nice. That's roughly about a pound, isn't it? Pound is probably optimum. Just because any more than that, then the chances of you metabolizing muscle goes up. It's greater, really. And we don't want to lose muscle. We just want to lose fat. So that's the goal setting process. Everyone happy with that bit?
Yep.
Yep, cool. And then at the bottom here, it's got a question, just because this is on the assessment criteria. When and how often will these goals be reviewed? So I would say that, well, how often do you think you'd want to review that, really?
Monthly, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe even shorter term than that, bi-weekly.
Yeah, you could have a little check-in, couldn't you? I mean, I've got to try and get my head in the gym instructor's mindset, because I'm constantly thinking in a PT's mindset. But so gym instructor, realistically, you're probably going to see your client monthly, as far as actually sitting down and spending some time with them formally. So we could say every month book a program / goal review session with gym instructor. I mean, if you had that and that was put in your diary, you think how many clients would have more success in the gym, wouldn't they? If they've had the program written, the goals have been done, and they're going to see that instructor again in 4 weeks' time. It does offer quite a big layer of accountability there, doesn't it? I'm just wandering in and just sort of going in. No one's really looking after you. Okay. that's your client interview. Any more questions about client interviews?
No, the only one I had was the split between the portals, but we've covered that. So.
Okay, let me go to the next one. So after that, it says on my list, it's got the health promotion task. So I'm just going to open that, just double check you guys know what you're doing for this one. Now, the idea behind this assignment is that the awarding body want you to get your head around the use of ICT. So for you guys, the younger guys, you probably got pretty good IT skills. It's just, it's what you do now, isn't it? And the idea is that they want new trainers coming through to have a little bit of IT in there, be able to produce infographics and things, because that's the way it's going, isn't it? Producing images that you can put online and what have you is really a necessity now, just to kind of boost your following and what have you.
So sorry, like Lynn said a minute ago, there was the split. There was one bit on the portal and then another bit in docs. Is that the same with every assignment then?
Oh no, that was just the consultation form for that one.
All right.
So in the portal, you'll have everything that you need to learn to complete these assignments. So like health promotion, if you go to health promotion, go to assignments and click on health promotion, it will show you there's an example of something in there and a bit more information. So use the portal to guide you through what to do, but then do the work in your study portal.
Yeah, perfect.
Right. So where was I? Health promotion. Here we go. So I can't really reiterate this enough. Use the mark scheme as your guidance for everything, because that's exactly what the assessors will do. They'll bring up your assignment when you've submitted it to Mark, and then they'll just put it next to this on the same screen. So they'll go, the terminology and level of detail appropriate for the target audience. And this is where sometimes people don't get this if they've just copied a load of stuff from like Wikipedia and it's just too sciencey and it's not something that would you would realistically give to a gym goer. So think about posters and flyers and things that you see on social media. That's the kind of real simplified, clear messages, not heavy sciencey stuff. So that's what we're looking for. It then says the health risks of being overweight or obese. So I cover a few of those in the webinar, which you can obviously revisit via the study portal. But it also covers that in your manual anyway. So check out that. And it's got a list of loads of risks of being overweight or obese. So 3 marks, try to pick 3 and just try and keep the sentence as concise as possible and maybe let a nice little image or represent it as well. So less words, clear points, really. The current prevalence of obesity in the UK, 3 stats again would be quite nice for that. 3 benefits of a healthy lifestyle. You could put more than 3, by the way, but it just shows you that you'll get 3 marks if there's at least 3. The risks of an unhealthy lifestyle, and then relate those to common medical conditions. This part of it I always have a bit of an issue with, because the health risks of being overweight or obese, I think, is the same as this, really. The risks of an unhealthy lifestyle relate to common medical conditions. So, I mean, if you could merge them as one thing if you wanted, and as long as we can tick 3, realistically go, yeah, you've got 3 things there, and you also cover 3 things there, then you'll get the mark. And that, like I said, that is all in your manual, and it's all covered on the webinar as well. Happy with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it in Google Slides, even though I've put a blank Google Slide template in your Google Drive folder. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. If you guys have got more familiar using other things. In fact, I will just show you something that you might want to start. Is anyone here quite good at sort of design and doing stuff like that? Do they have software that they use? Oh yeah, so Sam's put here, so we can make the post on Photoshop. So you use Photoshop, do you, Sam? You can definitely use. Yes, you do. Ah, see, that is good.
How would you then? Sorry, John. How would you then get it to the Google Drive to then put the assignment in?
Yeah, I can show you that. So if we go back to Google Drive now, let me see. So this Google Drive folder, if you bring up, if you're on like a Mac or something, then you have Finder. What's it called when you have files in Microsoft? So wherever if you download something like a file, whether it's a PDF, an image, a PowerPoint, a Word document, there'll be like a folder that all your downloads go to.
Right.
When you all you need to do is just, so if I grab something now, like what have I got here? So it's just a random file I'm going to drag into this Google Drive folder. You literally just grab hold of it, drag it, drop, and that will then take a little moment to upload, and it should appear. There we go. Can you see that PDF at the bottom? It's there. So yeah, do that. So like Sam said, if you produce it in Photoshop, Sam, once you get the PDF, just drag it in there. I'll get rid of that because that's going to confuse me later on. You can do that with anything. Google Drive's brilliant. I mean, you can stick videos, you can stick audio files, anything you like in Google Drive. And the good thing about it is you get a certain amount of free space with Google, but if you use Google Docs, Google Slides, anything that's Google related, it doesn't count towards your allowance of data. It's only if it's not one of their kind of things. Yeah, Ridu, you're good at it. Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, if you're quite good with IT, fantastic. Yeah, use Photoshop, use that stuff. Otherwise, just use the Google stuff, which is quite easy. This thing I've started using fairly recently called Graphic Designer. There's Photo Editor and there's Graphic Designer. So you can probably just Google this, befunky.com. Google that. It's quite easy to use, but it's a free online kind of image building thing. So you can use it for creating thumbnails for YouTube videos. You can create social media posts, and it has templates that you can just use and edit. There's some other stuff that they obviously pay to use, but you can get loads of free stuff from it. Right, let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, so through Google, yeah, on Google, the other that Ridu's just mentioned there, you can actually create a website through Google as well. So it's really easy to use. Now, if we go to the supporting clients, pretty straightforward. This one, you've literally just got to type your answers straight into these boxes. It tells you how many marks are available. So this says minimum of 1 mark. So if you got one of these answers correct, you're going to pass that section. So just type your answers in. The webinar I delivered does cover every single question, and don't forget the study portal also tells you which pages to read. So do both. I would watch the webinar and read the study portal, but this is probably, some of you guys probably absorbed quite a lot from that webinar anyway. You could probably have a go at doing this straight away, but like I said, it's always good to read the pages too. And then at the bottom, you've got that assessors feedback thing. So we'll write down in here what you did well, what could have made it a little bit better. And then this is the one you want to keep blank. If this is empty, you've passed the assignment. If it's got something written in there, you just need to address that before you can pass. And it might be, you could submit your entire portfolio and you'll get an email saying it's referred because there's some immediate action points. It could be one assignment that just has one little thing written in there, which will take you 2 minutes to do, and then you've passed. So just don't be too overwhelmed if you get that email saying that your portfolio has referred, because it could be one tiny little thing that you can address straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that supporting clients worksheet?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Yep. Okay. Then we did our gym session plan. So this is the blank version. The example version that you've got on the study portal, I've added in some green writing, which just tells you where you can access like page numbers for certain things. I mean, obviously, it's it's not rocket science to find where the cardiovascular equipment is, but it's just to save you a bit of time fiddling
John,
about.
you know where you've written the green writing in?
Yeah.
For an example of kind of explaining what the program is for, do we need to write in, for instance, who we're doing the program for?
No,
we know it. That's fine.
No, you don't. That's fine. Yeah, because the assessors will just look at your consultation to make sure. They'll read that. They'll get an idea of what this client's about and what they want, and then they'll look at your program. So yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
If you have done that, doesn't matter. I mean, it's just an added extra detail, but you don't need to. So yeah, obviously put the client's name in. Make sure that your pulse raiser is a gym-based one, as in a bit of cardiovascular equipment. Your time for the warm-up is always going to be between 5 and 10 minutes. It might just be 5 minutes, or if you think the client likes to warm up for longer or they're a bit older, 10 minutes. Workload or target training zone. Can you remember what we tend to use for that?
The RPEs, is it?
Yeah, RPE. If you do heart rate, that's fine. It's not wrong. You can do heart rate if you prefer, but it's just probably easier to do RPE, because if you do heart rate, if you put a zone in, you then need to do the equation of working out what that actually is. Because if you just say to a client, work at 60% of your max heart rate, they're like, yeah, but I don't know what that is. So you'd have to do the maths as well. Put some dynamic stretches in. So how many as a minimum for stretches?
Ooh, how many did you say?
3, 4?
Yeah, 3. Minimum of 3. And how long? Well, we don't tend to do it for a time. You can do it for a time, but we do it for reps normally. So how many reps for dynamic stretches?
I don't know, 10, 8 to 10, something like that.
Yeah, 8 to 10. Good. You guys are just like sponges, you lot, absorbing it all. And then the next part on the program is the main CV. If you want to stick the CV at the end, then I'll just show you how you do it. It's a little bit of editing, but you would basically highlight it, Control and C, or Command and C if you're on the Mac, and then click on that. Hang on, how'd you do it? Is that going to work? Oh, let's see what happens. This might not work actually, but I'll try it. Did that work? I think it just went over the top. What you'll have to do then is actually insert some rows. So insert row above, insert a row above. So insert enough rows and then copy and paste it. But if that's a bit fiddly, if you don't want to do that, you could number it if you wanted. So you could put main CV component, put that down maybe as 2, and then put this down as 1, so we know what you mean by that. So that means that comes next, and that's after. Or just leave as it is and just do main CV first. There's not a right or wrong. I was just telling you from my personal point of view, I tend to stick CV on the end of most clients' programs because I want them to lift to their full potential, and then do the card in the end. Or if you're like Dean, you just want to hurt yourself a bit more because enjoy that. So with CV, if you're going to do continuous training, as in just keep that continuous pace, continuous training, you just need to write the equipment, the time, the target zone. If it's intervals, make it clear how long each interval is. So, 2 minutes work, 1 minute rest, times how many of those you're going to do, whatever. And then you would put in the work RPE equals whatever, and the rest RPE. Just so that's clear as well. So don't forget, when you're writing this program, imagine you're then going to just hand that program over to the client and go, right, well, there you go. Bring that in with you each time you come into the gym, and that'll tell you exactly what to do. So they need to know that detail. Then when it gets to the resistance training section, you can order it. You can order it any way you like, as long as there's a sensible rationale for it. but we tend to go big exercises first, most complex first, smallest exercises on the end. You don't have to put isolation exercises in for things like biceps, triceps, and calves and stuff, unless the person has stated specifically they want to develop that area. If you know that if they said, I want bigger arms, then you might want to put some isolation work on the end for that. Or if they've said, I want to work on my glutes, and whatever, you can put that in. Otherwise, you can just go with the big movements like upper body pushes and pulls, lower body pushes and pulls, core movements. Don't forget, this is telling you, you just have to put that as an abbreviation of RM is resistance machine, FW is free weight, BW is body weight, AFE is alternative functional exercise, like the ropes or the slam bags, something like that. Choose the right sets and reps depending on the client's goal and experience. So Wilf mentioned that he wants to get massive. So you've obviously got some experience in training at the moment already. So he could go straight in for that hypertrophy rep range. So he could be doing like 10 to 12 reps times 3 sets if he wanted. Because he's got a bit of a baseline fitness. If he'd only just started and he'd never done any lifting at all, even though he wants to get big, would still probably kick him off with doing some 50 reps times 2 sets, just to build some. We'll get him used to moving and whatever. That is quite important. So then in here, you're going to put your teaching points. If there's any other little notes that you want to put in for yourself, you're welcome to put stuff in there. When you come to doing the program on the day, that's where you might want to annotate as well, like how much weight they've lifted. So when you figured that out with your client during the induction, you can write that in there for them. As I said, it is quite nice to see you guys doing that because it looks very real and authentic then. And then we've got a cool down, so some sort of pulse lowerer. So it could be anything you like, just to bring that heart rate down slowly. Trigger that. Do you remember the parasympathetic nervous system? Getting them ready for rest and recovery, chilling out. Target training zone is going to be that really low RP, isn't it? Going from a 5 or a 4 down to 1. How many cool down stretches?
No idea.
A few more, I think. Maybe
3 again.
Yeah, we'll go for 5 on this one. I mean, ideally, there should be a stretch covering all the major muscle groups. So, a back stretch, a chest stretch, quads, hamstrings, calves, something like that. But I know the awarding body like to see 5. So make a note of that. Then 5 stretches. You can keep them all as maintenance stretches if you want, 10 to 15 seconds. If the client hasn't expressed any interest in improving mobility or flexibility, if they have expressed an interest in that, then I would add in some developmental ones too. So 30 to 60 seconds. Don't forget to write in how the exercises could be adapted to make if they were too easy or if they were too hard, so we can make them hard. We can, increase the reps, decrease the reps, increase the load, decrease the load, slow the tempo. And that's it. And this is our mark scheme here. So, it wants to look like it's going to be around the sort of 45 to 60 minute mark. So you can work that out roughly. Safe and effective session structure, meaning a warm up, a main, a cool down. Safe and effective exercise for a warm up component. So make sure you use gym-based cardio and dynamic stretches. Safe and effective exercise and equipment for the main workout. So we're looking for balance. So if you just give someone loads of bench pressing and loads of bicep curls, that would actually end up developing probably a kyphosis for the person. So just make sure you're giving them an all over kind of balanced workout, really. Select exercise. Select safe and effective exercise and equipment for the cool down. So pulse lowerer, static stretch. Select exercise that were functional. So you just need to have at least one functional exercise in there. And you got loads of examples in your manual. Describe how he or she would adapt and modify exercises. Well, we just covered that bit. And record the session plan in an appropriate format. Well, just do it on there. Don't do it on something different. Do it on what's been provided, and you'll get that mark. Okay, well, just look at your question there. Could a wood chop be done with a rope attachment on a pulley resistance machine? Yeah, I quite like it on there. Yeah, you can do it with on a pulley machine. You can do it with a dumbbell, kettlebell, medicine ball. Yeah, any way you like, really, as long as is it done with safe technique. That's that one. Let's go to the professionalism. This one shouldn't take too long. It's pretty straightforward again, but the professionalism customer care worksheet, same thing. Obviously, just type the answer straight into the box. Check the marks. You need to get one of those. Some people have submitted before where if they've not sure of a question, they've just left it blank, but then you obviously can't get it. And the feedback won't tell you the answer. So they won't say in the feedback, you're missing this answer. It will just say, refer to a certain place to try and find it. That's all pretty straightforward, isn't there? There's nothing obvious there. And read the pages again. So where it says on the study portal what pages to read those, and you're just making your life easier really when you do that. Okay. Anyone had a go at this one yet? The personal and professional development plan. I'd say it's probably one of your shortest ones.
Yeah, I'm going to find that hard.
You're going to find it hard?
Yeah, I find it really hard to look at yourself.
Oh. Well, it doesn't say anything about your alcohol consumption on here. So. You're getting a right hard time over this, and you just because you happen to be the honest one, everyone else is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so this one very, very easy. just put a copy and paste a tick into whatever box you think is the most realistic answer. Then,
will we be able to, after doing this one in particular, would we be able to get help off you at the end? For example, my thing is time management. Like I can end up sometimes I'm there for like it's nearly 2 hours and I haven't even realised. So obviously with clients, you can't be doing that.
Sorry, when you're actually doing the induction on a client for 2 hours?
Yeah, well, just in general in a session, whatever, like just to get better at time management, whatever it might be for any one of us. But after we fill this out, would you be able to kind of obviously speak on it individually?
Yeah, well, I've got you one-to-one for your for all of you guys for your consultation, and then obviously when we do your assessment when you're in the centre. Okay. So things like that, we can give you loads of one-to-one feedback on that. But time management is it's an interesting one. Actually, we do cover it a bit on the level 3. I do go through time management. Yeah. Because that used to be a thing for me. I used to think that my time management was really good because I was always busy and I was always getting so much done. So I think I just misunderstood what time management actually meant. Yeah. And a lot of what you're doing is working out with time management. It's working out actually what is important and what's not, and just not doing the unimportant stuff. Yeah. And I mean, there's lots of books on it. Like there's one book called it's something about swallowing the frog or something like that, where we tend to avoid stuff that we don't really want to do but probably should be doing. So we do all the nice stuff that we enjoy doing sometimes is just actually kind of irrelevant. We don't actually need to be doing it, but it's just quite easy and fun to do. And I used to do that. I used to tinker with resources and things like that. I used to love making resources for my clients. And I spent ages doing stuff when actually they probably had more resources than they needed. And what I should be doing was actually spending more time getting clients. And that's what time managing a lot of it is about, is actually going, look, I don't need to be doing this. And focusing on one thing at a time, getting it done, moving on to the next thing. Cool. But yeah, we can talk about that some more. Your SWOT analysis, if you look at the mark scheme, you need at least 2 pointers in there, but I'd stick a few more in there than that, because it will look good. You'll get good feedback for that. But just trying to identify things that will make you good as a gym instructor. What skills do you have that make you good as a gym instructor? What knowledge do you have that would make you good as a gym instructor? What are your areas of development? What don't you know? What experience don't you have at the moment? What opportunities are there out you to get better at what you do? Like it could be networking, if going to workshops, doing more courses, buying a book, and be quite specific as well. So you could say, if your weakness was you don't really have a good understanding of mobility exercises, so here you'd say attend a mobility workshop, wherever that may be, or buy this particular book on mobility, hire a PT and have some mobility work myself, that sort of thing. Threats to your development or threats to your sort of career progression could be things like, gym's closed at the moment. Could be that other competition, other more experienced instructors getting employed over you, things like that. So once you identify all this stuff, then you've got a plan of action, or you create the plan of action. So goals, areas where I need to develop. Sorry, did someone say something then, or was it just my feedback coming back to me? No, all right. I think it was just like an echo or something. So here you then write down the areas that you need to develop, what you're going to do to make that happen, who can help you with it, and then sources of information to support you with that as well. So again, it's all quite straightforward. It's just sitting down and getting on with that, really.
John, could you give us an example of that? What that last table you just done? Could you write something out and just give an example?
Yeah. All right, let's do me then. Not all this is going to be difficult. So go areas where I need to develop. God, there's so much to choose from. Right. So for me, I would say, yeah, I'll tell you what, it's the vegan thing that I mentioned the other day. So areas I need to develop, meal planning for vegans, actions I need to take to achieve this. So I need to, and actually I have already done this, I just haven't looked at it properly yet. So purchase a vegan recipe book. And talk to other vegan trainers or / nutritionists. Oh God. Who do I need to help? Who do I need to help me with this? Well, I've got a friend who is my friend George, the vegan instructor. Source of information required, how it can be accessed. So there's various sites, isn't there? But have you heard of is it Deliciously Ella? Has anyone heard of Deliciously Ella?
No.
I think that's one of the books I've got. But Deliciously Ella website. And just a bit of Googling. If you just go online, you can Google sources for what's going on with the
space.
Yeah. That might happen to yours. If that happens to yours, just highlight it all and click on the left positioning thing. So yeah, what I would do is once you realize what it is you want to develop and work on, Google and see what things are out there for it. Really, you might find there's a workshop. You might find there's an online e-learning course. You might find there's just a good book or a podcast. Podcasts are very good. Does anyone here listen to podcasts?
Not huge amounts.
They're well. The good thing about it is they're free, and you just get experts kind of coming onto shows and talking about specific areas. So there'll be someone who's made a living from being a vegan nutritionist. So you'd be able to listen to their podcasts. Oh yeah, Joe Rogan. Yeah, I listen to a lot of his stuff. Is that all right, Dean? Does that kind of make sense there?
Yeah, and like the review date would just be like, I don't know, you review it after.
Yeah, you could probably stick the same date in there for everything. Is just put in. So if I'm going to do that, to make sure it actually happens, I could say that I'm going to review that at the end of the month. You know, in a month's time. And then I could put that date on my calendar. Dates on calendars are really good because you get little notifications. And if you're a bit OCD as well, if you put things on like things to do lists, then they pester you and you have to get them done or cross them off. And then down here it says, what are the benefits of CPD for self, clients and organizations? So do you remember for this, we sort of covered this in the webinar, but it was looking at things like for you, it gives you more kind of enthusiasm and interest in your job and your subject. It can be great for your career progression because you can end up, eventually standing out from the competition. It will make you more of an authority. You could then get into doing some sort of mentorship role or leading or management or teaching role. It's good for your clients because they get to access a more knowledgeable and skilled trainer, and it makes you more interesting. They ask you stuff, always picking your brains and asking you things about stuff. Organization, obviously, it's good for them because they get a more skilled and knowledgeable member of staff to attract more customers and keep more customers. What contribution would a workplace performance appraisal make to CPD? So any ideas on that? What sort of stuff your workplace performance appraisal does?
Well, it just highlights all of your weakest areas and your strongest areas naturally being an appraisal.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit more of an objective look at it than you just looking at yourself. Because sometimes we might think that we've got certain weaknesses, or we might think we've got certain strengths, but from somebody, perhaps if it's a good manager, someone that's being a bit more objective can say, well, this is what I would kind of like you to be able to do or need you to do. And often with managers, one of the key things that comes up a lot is they want their staff to be more proactive. So instead of waiting to be asked to do something, they kind of like the staff to just get on and do stuff themselves. And that's the thing that comes up in appraisals all the time, especially with gym instructors. Gym instructors, unless they're told, they will just sort of sit and just wait rather than going up and going and talking to more people, getting to know more people, starting some sort of rowing league that people can participate in, and they just don't get stuck into things like that. All right, so that's that one. And then we've got our health and safety worksheet, same thing, typing in the boxes, use the webinar because it does cover all the questions in it, but then also read the page numbers that are highlighted on the study portal.
I've got a question about that, John.
Yep.
The health and safety one. The bit about the NOPS and the EAPS at the end, the importance of it I get, but the areas, key areas, I mean, I could do it for the NOPS, but not for the EAPS. It's like, well, what are the key areas? Because it's really...
Is it on this one here, number 7?
Yeah.
What number question?
It's right near the end. It's about...
I think it was number 5 you're looking for, maybe. I saw it. Yeah, I think it's number 5.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
So the areas, key areas, urgency action plans.
So key for both of them.
Yeah. No,
right, here we go. So what should be included in a NOP normal? So details of the facilities, including size, layout, position of fire alarms, etc. Potential risks, how to deal with the public. So rules, communication methods, customer care, staff duties and responsibilities, systems of work for each facility, operational systems, first aid training and supplies. So there's a big list on the webinar. It will be about, where are we? It's probably about halfway through it, actually. but there's a slide with a big list of those things that I'm reading off now. And then the emergency action plan covers what to do during what to do in the event of, what to do during, and what to do after a bomb threat, evacuation, gas leak, fire, or other emergency specific to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So that will get you the marks. That's one thing you will notice with these worksheets, that sometimes the wording's just like, what are they actually asking me?
So I couldn't sort of relate to the areas. You know, it's like state the importance of it. I get that, but the key area that.
Okay. Oh, it might be. Are you thinking areas in like the gym area or the reception? Oh no, it means key area is in key points.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like an English thing, isn't it? They just use a bad choice of words there.
Yeah. So it's not me being silly.
No, it's always been like that. It does my head in. It does all our heads in. Sometimes they write something, and then we will contact the awarding body and go, look, what is this question here? Can you give us an example of what's a sensible answer? And they'll give one and be like, that's not what the question's asking.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh well, So we end up having to. It's when we're trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to teach you to know enough to do the job well, but then also how to meet the awarding body's weird requirements.
Right. Yeah. Right, now you said points, I totally get it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone got any other questions like that popped up?
No.
Nope. Okay, so then this one here was the diagram thing. So it only wants you to identify 4 hazards in the picture. There's quite a few more than 4 in there, really. But so yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Do you remember there's on that health and safety webinar, I went through the different stages of risk assessment. So that was, I'll give you the first one. So that was like identify the hazard. And then it went on to like some other stages. There's 5 stages. It's covered in the webinar, but it's also in your manual there as well. How should the risk be managed? So that's looking at all the control measures. Probably the more stuff you put in there, the better, really. But all the control measures that you can put in place to prevent that actually becoming a reality. So if for example, if you put down here, that horrendous technique he's got there of picking up the dumbbells, if that was the one you chosen, how should the risk be managed? Ensure all customers are given a gym induction and explain and teach safe lifting and handling of weight, something like that. And then you'd also say, what else could we do to try and manage that risk?
Make sure you don't let idiots get memberships.
Just when if you're an instructor, you're walking the gym floor, just give them advice when you're walking around the gym.
Yeah, and
someone doing it wrong.
That's right, and that's tied in to the normal operating procedure. So the normal operating procedure for a gym instructor is that every hour they should be walking the gym floor. If they're with a customer and they've got an induction, that's different. But if they're not with a customer, they need to be walking the gym floor, and then they look out for that sort of stuff. So that's all tied into that. And then this one here, don't forget, you can't actually see everything here. This is a crap task, really. But what we used to get all number of problems with this because this was blank, and the awarding body would say, look, how can they possibly answer these questions when you can't see it? So I said, can I just put NA into all the boxes that aren't relevant? And they said yes. So that's why you've got NA in all these boxes. So it only leaves 1, 2, 3 things that you can actually look at and answer. So just look at those 3 things and write some comments. you then had to, so Dean asked about this, a good question was, how do we go about writing this handover? Like, is it kind of like a simulation? Is it like a made up thing? And yes, it is. So you're writing a handover as if, you know, you're on shift, the next gym instructor's coming in, and you're just going to write an example of something you would say to them, making sure you're covering these things. So, you know, you've got a induction booked in at 11 o'clock, the class at 10:30 has been cancelled. You know, you've identified something that's not been working properly here, and this, and this, and this. So it is just Radu said there is an email. You could write it as an email if you want. Yeah, it depends. Every organisation is different. Some of them have a day book. So Southwick Leisure Centre, they have a diary which has got like 1 page per day. And the gym instructor writes down everything that occurs as and when it happens on that book. And then when the next gym instructor comes in, they discuss that with them. So they'll say, look, I wrote this down today and this has happened, that has happened. That's kind of a good way of working, actually. It works quite well. Or, yeah, you could do it as an email. And I don't know if you noticed here, I think something a bit weird going on with this box here as well. I don't know what's happening there. So if that's happening to yours, what you can do is delete this, delete the table, and just go insert, and just do that, and just start again, and that should sort that out. Okay. Any technical issues like that, give me a shout, and I can go in and do it on your behalf. Okay, now where are we up to? That was the last one, I think, wasn't it? Your assessment plan here, by the way, don't worry about that. Just leave that blank. That's just what the assessor fills out as and when they mark things. So they check things off within that assessment plan. Some of you have noticed have been doing this already. So once you've finished an assignment, you're very welcome to drag it into your assignments complete. So then when we assess a portfolio, typically everything's then in there. And then we move the ones that pass into the green one, the assignments passed.